You booked it, episode 207. What's going on, everyone? Thank you for joining me today on You Booked It, the #1 podcast where you learn how to create a successful entertainment career. Have you joined the You Booked It community yet? It is your go-to entertainment career resource. Inside, you'll have direct access to Broadway performers, Emmy nominees, and people just like yourself navigating this industry. Learn from those walking the walk. Build industry relationships, access unlimited masterclasses, and learn how to book the job more consistently. Join free today. Tap the link in the show notes or go to youbookeditpodcast.com/invite to get inside. And now, let's meet today's guest. Okay, let's kick today's episode off. I am excited to introduce my guest today, Nancy Spooner. Are you ready to do this, Nancy?
Ready, sir.
Brilliant. A TV and film major from San Diego State, Nancy has worked behind the scenes in episodic television, feature films, the X Games, Olympic Games, and a spaceship launch. Her resume is stuffed full of large-scale corporate sales meetings and conferences. In 2008, she realized she was a connector and started her company, Tempo Live Events, and is now one of the country's leading event production resources for freelance production specialists. When not in front of her computer screens or working on shows on the road, she can be found riding her bike around her beach town with her husband and son or surfing some of the country's best breaks down the street. Nancy, that is a very quick intro of who you are and what you've done, but why don't you tell us a little bit more about yourself, fill in the gaps, and a little bit more about what you do as a professional in the industry?
Okay, will do. Yeah, that's a broad overview of where I came from, television and film roots that morphed into live event production, which to me is the same thing. It's organization, it's having a good head on your shoulders and wrangling cats. And turned into my main bread and butter would be producing large conferences and conventions and such. And then also, like you mentioned, in 2008, starting my company, Tempo Live Events, where I realized that I have a lot of friends I get work for. And if I can make a penny for everybody I got a job for, I could probably make some cash. So yeah, my little side hustles became my big hustle right now. And I'm still dabbling in live events. I let myself do 1 or 2 a month. And that means I'm either show calling, so directing the live show, or I deck manage. When we used to have decks, I would be on the stage deck managing. And now I do the same thing as a deck manager, but behind my computer screen, which is kind of fun. And then producing shows, which, as you know, is just getting all the cats lined up and making sure the client's happy.
Yeah, very cool. It's this side of the industry, for everyone that's listening, is something, this is why I'm so excited here, first off, to have Nancy on, because this is a side of the industry that so many people just don't even realize exists. But when you start thinking about it, you go, of course it has to exist. We all know that conferences happen. We all know that conventions happen. And someone has to make those things a thing. Someone has to turn an empty ballroom into somewhere people want to hang out and be entertained in. And this is what Nancy's talking about. And this is so good because it's such a fantastic part of the industry that I'm excited to dig into and talk about. You said that now with deck calling, you do it a lot behind your computer. I'm assuming this is because of COVID and the virtualization of the conference and meeting world?
Yes, exactly. We were shut down for, gosh, it's been 18 months now.
Yeah.
Meetings are coming back, shows are coming back, concerts are coming back. But there's still a lot of people that aren't traveling, a lot of CEOs that have to get their messages out and they know they can't get a few thousand people in a ballroom. I've done a handful of pharmaceutical drug launches or speaker meetings lately, and they still need to meet, right? They need to get their message out there. So they just do it from their home office. And so do I. So I'm with the presenter, quote unquote, backstage, making sure they look and sound good. So I'm dealing with their background, with their lighting, with their audio. It's interesting because when they used to come to the ballroom, lighting was set, audio was set, the stage was set, and I would greet them and show them where their presentation could be seen down below and where to look at their audience and where to stand in the light. And now they come into a virtual room and I am their lighting designer and I am making sure they sound good and I am making sure the set behind them looks good. it's a whole new world, but it's fun and I love it. And I couldn't do it with the production team that's actually in the studio, but still, I'm the one face that they see and they talk to, and I'm the one that's supposed to make them sound and look their best and keep them calm and informed. And it's fun.
Yeah,
It's still, when we first got shut down, I thought, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? I'm a people person. What am I going to
right.
do? My job is done. And then a couple months went by and we found the pivot and we found people we're still going to meet. And I slid right back into my role. It was nice.
Yeah, so cool. And way to take advantage of such a crazy world and situation at the time.
I know. It's so crazy.
Yeah. Well, let's dig into this first section here. And Nancy, look, I am a sucker for a good quote. What is your favorite quote you'd like to share with everyone?
You know what my favorite quote lately is? No one's getting out of here alive.
Mm.
It's the same thing as you only live once, but
Yeah.
I just love that. No one's getting out of here alive, people. Let's do this. Let's do it fun. Let's not be afraid to take that trip, to take that jump, to take that risk, as long as
Yeah.
you can make it out alive from that one moment. But
Yeah, yes.
for the most
Yeah.
part, I just love that.
Yeah, I really like that as well because it also puts more urgency into it, I think, than just you only live once. I feel like that's a bit lighter, but I like
Yeah,
the urgency that
me
of yours.
too. Someone sent it to me a couple months ago, and I thought I'm taking that with me. And I
Done.
used it a lot. I was just on vacation with my family, and let's go do this. Let's go do that. I'm like, yeah, no one's getting out of here alive. Let's go hike Mount Rushmore. We got this.
Yeah, perfect. Love it. Let's get into this next section here. And Nancy, of course, you are an entertainment professional. I am an entertainment professional, and I think that you'd agree that this industry can be one of the most subjective, brutally honest, and personally emotional industries in existence. And
Yes.
you know as well as I that in order to create and have a successful career in this industry, like you're having now, takes a lot of dedication and hard work. And while, yes, there is outrageous amounts of fun and excitement doing what we do, there are also our fair share of obstacles, challenges, and failures we're going to experience and we're going to have to move forward through. So tell us, what is one key challenge, obstacle, or failure you've experienced in your career, and how did you come out the other side better because of it?
You know what? I think it's happening as we speak. I
Mm,
think it's the pandemic. COVID hit and I panicked. Like, what just happened? We all lost our contracts. We had tons
yeah,
of shows. It was in the middle of first quarter, and that's where the live event industry really makes their bread and butter. I think is our first quarter is it's pretty significant. We got shut down right away in first quarter. And I accidentally started an industry think tank that is thriving. And you're a part of it now. I've seen you in there too. I just called on my girlfriends in my Tempo team of contractors. I was like, all right, girlfriends, let's meet up. Let's do a happy hour on Zoom. There's this software called Zoom. We could all do this video conference thing. And we met up, and I always brought a theme to the Tuesday meeting. Who's the favorite person you ever had on your stage, or what's some great lessons we learned backstage, or, we're front of house, like, and we would just share these moments. And then our moments started getting a little more intense every week as we saw the pandemic growing, and it didn't seem like we're getting out of this thing anytime soon. And
mm,
we started asking each other questions about unemployment and our contracts and force majeure and those PPP loans that they had in the US, and how can we take advantage of these things. And I said, okay, hold on, let me get my accountant in here, because we're all trying to answer these questions, but none of us are accountants. We don't understand this loan process. So I brought in an accountant, and then more questions came about contracts. And I said, let's bring in an attorney. And I brought in an attorney in. And then next thing you know, one of the females on our group, she was producing the NFL draft. She was one of the producers on the NFL draft. And that was the first live remote show where they were taking cameras and going inside iPhones and going inside all these players' homes for the NFL draft. And I found it fascinating because they had to communicate with the broadcast studio. How are they doing that on intercom? And so I brought her in, and then I just opened up the floodgates at that point. I was like, come one, come all. Let's listen to how they produce this virtual live event. And from there, a girlfriend coined it the Tempo Think Tank. And then I started bringing in producers from production companies. My husband was actually presenting on a stage virtually in May, April or May. It was early, and I was so nosy. I stuck my head in the quote unquote green room where my husband was and said, who's producing this? I want to talk to you about this. And she was so gracious. She actually became a guest on the think tank and told us how she pulled off her like 3,000 in-person event into a 15,000 virtual event within a
wow.
matter of weeks because she got shut down. And it was so fun to listen to her tell her story. So the think tank was born. And I think From there, the Tempo team has grown significantly, and we just have been sharing industry secrets with each other. So nothing's a secret. It's best practices of how we're producing events at home and what technology do we need and how are you communicating and what apps work best, blah, blah, blah. That's my success story is, man, we were down for the count, and it was just being I didn't do it on purpose, as I always say. It was an accident, but it was amazing. The friendships, the camaraderie, the trust, the teamwork that the Tempo think tank has shown our industry has been amazing. It's one of my greatest successes. I just love the people there. I love how open and honest they've been and how we took a bad situation where we can do this together. Let's figure it out as a team. No secrets here.
Wow, I really love that. And I can attest, it's a fantastic community that exists a lot on Slack/Zoom. And it's so good. And it really is. It's all about, like you said, there's no industry secrets. It's all about best practices. How do we help each other get through this and use our talents in the best way possible and to be as successful as possible? Set everyone up for success.
Right, because nobody's walked this line before. No one's been in a pandemic and tried to produce shows from home. It's really neat to see the sharing that's gone on. And now it's starting to calm down a little bit because we're starting to find our groove and people are starting to get back on show site. And that is my goal. Like I have said since day one, someday there may not be a think tank. It's because you all will be working on show site and we'll be too busy to meet up. I hope we still will meet up just to share stories and friendships and maybe toast every now and then. But I love it. It's in a great community and they've been so supportive of each other because no one's done this before. So let's just share and learn.
Yeah, for sure. And what I think is also really good is a lot of us think, oh, all of the producers, all this needs to happen, all these virtual events. At the same time, all of these huge Fortune 500 companies, they need resources like this to exist because they are also going it the first time. They need people to, they come to you, go, we need to do a meeting. We don't know how to do it. That's why we pay you guys, is to make things happen magically. It's the whole industry, from the companies all the way down to the last person just wrangling whatever talent. Everyone is so needed in this information loop.
That's so true. I teach at University of San Diego one night a semester in a event. They call it some sort of event certificate platform. And there's a wedding coordinator there. There is a festivals producer. There's a sport producer there. We just run the gamut, just a general event coordinators. And I'm the event producer side of this course. And when I meet my students the first night, I always ask them, what's the difference in your opinion between an event planner and event coordinator an event planner and event producer. And I explain to them what I do. And I feel like so many people think in their mind, there's weddings and events and that's it. And it's all about tables and chairs and decor. And they don't realize, no, there's this big production side that happens behind the scenes. And there's a lot of work that needs to be done and a lot of work available for people in event production. And now these big companies, they're used to having event production, but now you're right. They just need to have a meeting. They need to get their team together and they're spread out all over the country now. And they don't have the technology and they don't understand the technology, even for a simple, like a Zoom meeting is not always going to cut it. They kind of want to step it up a little bit and show more slides or videos or have some more production value to it. And that is when I think our industry is really taking charge right now. Like we're figuring it out.
Yeah, 100%.
A lot of people creating event production companies now that can pull off these virtual meetings. It's cool.
Yeah, very cool. Did you know building industry relationships are the most important assets you need to create a long-lasting entertainment career? And don't take my word for it. Guest after guest here on the podcast have attributed some of their biggest career moments to their relationships. That is why you need to get yourself inside the You Booked It community. You'll learn what you need to do to get noticed and make sure your headshot stays in the callback pile so you can book the gig more consistently and create a successful career. Tap the link in the show notes or go to youbookeditpodcast.com/invite to get inside free today. Well, let's move on to a time that I like to call your spotlight moment. That one moment in time you realized, yes, I'm going to work in this industry for a living. Or maybe it was, yes, this is what I need to be doing in the industry. Tell us about that.
I love that. I love that part of my life because I do tell my students this as well. It was the Olympics, Salt Lake Olympics in 2002. when I realized as a show caller, I was the producer and the show caller for the live venue of long track speed skating, that if I didn't tell the national anthem singer when to start playing on time, on a count, that the whole worldwide feed would be off. And I was like, oh, that's my job. Okay, I get it. Because I'd been working for X Games for years and I would just let the video roll when my video producer had a video or when my host had an interview he wanted to do, or, competition kind of ran itself. And I just kind of let things happen. And it wasn't until that moment that I was like, oh my God, that's my job. And then I got a little nervous, but I love that nervousness. Like I took the ball and ran with it. I got it. This is my schedule. This is my show flow. Everyone's following me. I can't screw this up. I live for that. Where my associate producer, who was also my best friend at the time, it still is my best friend, was my associate producer at the time. When she realized what my job was, she said after the Olympics, oh my God, I was scared to death every day that you'd be sick and I'd have to take over. She wanted nothing to do with calling the live show. But that was quite the eye opener. It changed my life. It changed my career. And from there, I really got brave. And that's when I started writing proposals and finding my own work. And I've done a handful of sporting events since then. And then from the Olympics, it morphed into corporate events due to one of my colleagues that was in corporate. I'm not complaining.
Yeah. Oh, that's so cool. It's such a seemingly simple moment, but huge ramifications of what you're actually doing. That is so crazy. I remember the first time I ever realized that this world actually has a lot of detail was when I'm sure you don't know this about me. I was a mascot for the University of Montana. I actually ended up winning the Capital One National Mascot of the Year award back in the day. But I remember the first time I was going to go do a football game, and one of the producers of the show, the game, handed me the show flow and the run sheet of like, it was the diluted run sheet of what's happening. Sure. And I looked at it, I'm like, oh my gosh, every second is accounted for. And I need to be here. And it just completely rocked my world. It was like, oh, whoa, this is a thing. I'm not just going and running around and being a bear and dancing. Like I'm doing that, but it all has to be very specifically placed. It blew my mind. That was my first experience.
You know what I used to do, very similar to creating that experience, but for my parents and for my sisters and my nieces and nephews, when they come to the X Games, I give them a show flow. And they call me out on it, like we missed something. But I love giving my friends come to events, the sporting events like that, because I've done 14 years of gymnastics, USA gymnastics as well, US Open tennis. And whoever comes to see me, I usually give them a show flow just for fun. I'm like, check this out, just so you know, when you go to a baseball game, there's a reason that ribbon board says Adidas at this hour. And there's a reason that this next inning, it doesn't say Adidas and it says Pepsi or whatever. Like, it's all planned. There's a reason that commercial played.
Yeah, and I always thought it was interesting how, like, the organic nature of media breaks as well, because you just got to take advantage when it happens in sports, right?
Sure. Yep.
And that was always something that was really interesting to me, and just how it can be so rigid, but it has to be so flexible at the same time. Very cool.
Yep. You can start your opening ceremonies, can hit the number perfectly, get that first pitch or that kickoff. Yep. And then it's a kind of wild goose chase, but you have the parameters now of in this inning, in this quarter, you need to get these sponsor reads in, you need to do these giveaways or whatever. Yeah. These shout outs, these birthdays.
Exactly right. Yep. Well, let's piggyback on that question real quick and let's talk about your number one booked it moment. Walk us through that day, what was going on in your life, and what about that moment makes it your favorite booked it moment?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that was my gymnastics moment because I left the Olympics with a contact, our press chief, Susan Polikoff-Shaw. She's one of my favorite people on the planet. And she said, I love what you did here at Speed Skating. I want you to come over to USA Gymnastics. They need you. And I said, okay. I didn't really know what that meant, but okay. And so they flew me out to Ohio, I think it was Cleveland. I watched a gymnastics meet. I took a bunch of notes. And then the president at the time of USA Gymnastics said, hey, can you write me a proposal? You know, what would you do for us? Tell me. And I thought, oh my God, I don't know what a proposal is. I Googled how to write a proposal.
Yeah.
I didn't have Google back then, but I researched how to write a proposal and I faked my way through it. And I just copied and pasted my notes and used this template that somebody else had already made online and put some photos of what I'd known from X Games and the Olympics and compared it to gymnastics and what I would do differently here and there. And I submitted it and I put my rate in there and I put my pre-production in there and I truly just winged it, but it made me happy because I knew I would accept if he accepted this proposal, I would also accept it as well, because it made me feel like this is what I want to do and this is what I would love to be paid to do
Mm.
it. And he said, okay, let's go. World Championships are next year. Okay.
Whoa.
Yeah. And it worked. And I've been there for, I think it's like since 2002 almost. So it worked for almost 20 years. I loved
Wow,
it. Great
fantastic.
family. Yeah. Really neat people.
Yeah, and I think the biggest takeaway from that as well is that you didn't have all your ducks in a row. You didn't really know what you were doing in a lot of ways in regards to the proposal,
Right.
but you knew how to do the job. You knew what to. You had all this experience. Yes, it's a different sport, a different thing, but a lot of the fundamentals translate and transfer over, and just having the confidence to just move forward. And this is the reality of this industry, I think, just of life. It's a good life lesson, really, is that we never really have everything figured out, but we have to go forward.
Yeah. Take that risk. No one's
Yeah,
getting out of here alive. Write that proposal. If you want to work for gymnastics, I was a gymnast as a little kid. I would love to work for gymnastics. And it was dreamy. Yeah. And it worked.
that's it. Yeah, bring it back to the quote. Love that. And let's take a moment to talk about the present quickly. What projects are you working on now? What are you looking forward to? And we're still amidst this global pandemic. We're coming out the other end. How do you see this industry moving forward in the next couple of years?
Oh my gosh. I'd say I want to get back to normal. I look forward to getting back to normal, but I don't really know what normal is anymore.
Right?
Right. I don't know. I see hybrid. I've already been on board with a hybrid event where there was attendees in the audience and we still had people that were watching online. And I have confirmed my first real show in 2022. We're in the ballroom in the convention center. It's a convention with up to 10,000 attendees. And
Mm.
that's exciting because I do miss the show bacon. That's bacon in a cup, in case you're not familiar. But you miss your family. Like I've done that show, oh my gosh, for 10, 12 years. This one in particular that I just booked for 2022. And it's the same team. And it's such a beautiful show and it's huge and it's 7 days long. And you take this convention center and turn it into this big, magnificent, beautiful show. And that's your family. Like you were in there for the long, horrible hours, but everyone is so nice and friendly. So I look forward to being exhausted, but being with my teammates that are amazing at producing live events. I look forward to also still hybrid events. I don't mind those at all because I really enjoy being in my home office and making lunch for my kiddo or picking him up from school. I found that is something that I miss out on when I'm always on the road. So I'm going to try to find the balance of getting my time out with my colleagues in hotels, in ballrooms or whatever, and getting my adrenaline pumping, and then also taking time to spend a little more time with my family and being here for those moments that I missed when I was always on the road. That's what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping for a mix of a new normal that has me appreciating my home time, working from home when I can, and also hitting the road when I can get that remote control all to myself in a hotel room and not have to worry about packing lunches and, and
Yeah.
doing dishes. Yeah,
Yeah.
that sounds
So
exciting.
on the hybrid events, so obviously this entire industry has gone virtual the last 18 months or so.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that virtual element is here to stay?
Everyone always asks that question to each other. You know what? I think it's here for a while. I
Yeah.
don't know if it's here to stay, but it might be because I think it's saving people money and they don't have to travel everybody.
Mm.
I think there's a lot being missed when you're not face to face, but I think there's so many circumstances now that companies are going to go, oh, no hotels, no food and beverage, no special entertainment. Like this actually, we can accomplish getting our message across virtually or hybrid wise, where not everybody has to go and be
Yep.
on show site anymore. So I think it's going to be here for a while. I really do. And I'm not complaining.
Yeah, for sure. I love the virtual thing, of course. And the way I see it as well as a benefit of virtual is, say, for a pharmaceutical company, for instance, that has, or any, it doesn't have to be a pharmaceutical company, any company that has a product that they have a sales team out there selling.
Mm-hmm.
Do companies really want to remove their sales team from the market for a week? Or why don't you just come and meet us here for a few hours? We'll get the information you need, and then you can still be out there working your leads, working what you need to be doing. And same thing for, say, doctors. It's hard for doctors or specialists to just disappear from their practice. But there's a lot of ways
Right.
I think that the virtual shows can get you the training and the information. Obviously, being in person, it's always the most ideal, but I think getting the information is sometimes the most efficient thing to do.
Right. And now we know how to do it. I think before we didn't really know how, and you'd have doctors call in on Skype and we would
Mm,
connect them through the computer. And that was the way we would do it. And or they'd dial in and we'd have a phone bridge. Like it's been done before, people have called in virtually, but now we know how it can really be done. So I think you're right. Keeping the doctors, they don't have to travel anymore because they're such a part of so many meetings I've been on lately. And you're right, your sales reps, keep them in the field.
yeah,
I think you do need that sales meeting where it's the hurrah and everyone, the team building and the awards night. Like that's so important to them as well.
for
But
sure.
I think the stuff I've been doing a lot of lately is getting the message across to your people in your team. Yeah, to your employees. And you don't need to be in the same city to do it. The last show I did, it was simultaneous. I think it was like Chicago, New Orleans, and Santa Monica or in New York, something like that. So they kept their people in their region, so to speak. And
Right.
then those who couldn't be there were virtual. So it was pretty cool too. So they
Yeah.
still got their message out and they still actually did some awards and everything.
Yeah, very cool. Very cool. It'll be interesting to see how everything develops and evolves in the coming months and years.
And the beauty of, I think, that hybrid event for us, being selfish, is they need more of us.
Ah,
Because you, you
yes.
need you need someone on every stage. You need someone backstage. You need these producers. You need more lighting people. You know what I mean? There's just going to need more technicians and more event professionals to pull off these hybrids, which is good for us too.
Yeah, for sure. And I think when it comes to events, and it's live events people are used to, right? The costs and the manpower that it takes, and the virtual stuff is newer, so people are still adapting to what that actually takes to pull things off. And I kind of equate it to when you go on live events, there's so many people that are on a live event that make it happen, and someone might only have a couple of things really to do when it comes down to it. But you go, what? Why is that? Why are you paying someone all this money for really only doing a handful of things? But it's because the entire event is so high stakes that it's silly to have everything go wrong because of a couple $100
Yeah,
that
one
you had to
person
spend
had too
somewhere.
many things to do. When
Yeah.
when you've probably been there when you bring a presenter backstage and they see the gear and the people
Yeah.
backstage. Oh my God, I had no idea what was going on behind this curtain.
Mm.
It always is so eye-opening. And now that we're getting them on virtual stages, they think it's going to be just another Zoom call, and they are blown away again by how many voices can talk to them and are talking to them and are helping them set up the situation. And there's a downstage monitor, and their computer turns into that, and there's teleprompter in front of them. They have no idea what it takes or how many people, and they're blown away again, the technology and the people that it takes to pull off these virtual events, because they're just thinking it's a Zoom,
Yeah.
another
They're just
Zoom
chatting
call,
with
and
their
they realize,
family.
no,
Yeah.
it's actually a stage, and you're gonna feel like you're on a stage because we're gonna change your computer screen in front of you to be your downstage monitor and your teleprompter and your slides, and yeah.
Yeah. Very cool. It's a learning curve for everyone, and just
Mhm.
realizing that it's a full on production.
Yep.
Yeah, very cool. Well, it is time to move on to one of my favorite sections in the interview. I call it the Grease Lightning Round. I am going to ask you a handful of questions. I want you to answer them as quickly and concisely as possible, one after another. Are you ready?
Oh my gosh, yes, ready.
First question. What was the one thing holding you back from committing to a career in the industry?
Nothing. I wanted to do it, so I did it.
Perfect. Second question. What is the best piece of advice you have ever received?
From my dad, you were 5 minutes early or you're late. And always look
Oh,
around the room and see what needs to be done and take out the trash.
oh, love that. Love
There's
that
three
second
pieces, but
part.
it's all my dad.
So good. Third question. What is something that is working for you right now? Or if you'd like to go pre COVID, what was working for you before our industry went on pause?
What's working for me right now is having more time with my family, not being on the road all the time. Love it.
Yeah. Fourth question. What is your best resource? Whether that is a book, a movie, a YouTube video, maybe a podcast, or a piece of technology you found is helping your career right now.
Oh my God, Airtable, project management software, Airtable, and Slack.
Yes, I love Airtable.
Oh my
So good.
gosh. My husband's the creator. He helps me so much with Airtable, and it's changed my world.
Yes. Fifth question. If you had to start your career from scratch, but you still had all the knowledge and experience you've collected from your career in the industry, what would you do or not do? Would you do anything differently, or would you keep it the same?
Oh, I would have learned and found Airtable a lot sooner, and I would have hired an associate a lot sooner. I have an admin right now who's helping me so much with contracts and billing and bookkeeping, and it's making my life so much easier. I wish I would have done both of those a long time ago.
Yeah. Last question. What is the golden nugget knowledge drop you've learned from your successful career in the industry you'd like to leave with our listeners?
I always tell my students this: just keep meeting people, keep asking questions, keep meeting people, and don't be afraid to tell them what you want to do.
Love that, because I say it all the time on this podcast that this industry, no matter what part of it you're in, it is all about relationships.
Yep.
Yes, you cannot have any kind of longevity, any sustainability in this career without relationships.
Right. And you need to be authentic, you need to be you, and you need to be kind and work hard, and you'll be fine. And I tell that to the students all the time. You can reach out to me anytime with any questions, any connection. I will help you. Just don't be shy. Doesn't bother me at all. When someone wants help, just ask for help. People want to help you.
Yes, people want to help you. Love that. And to wrap up this interview, Nancy, it is time to give yourself a plug. Where can we find you? How do our listeners connect with you? Is there anything you want to promote?
On my website, tempoliveevents.com. We're always looking for new contractors that want to join our team. There's a link in there to join our team. And then it's also great for production companies to jump in there. And if they need teammates, then they can actually get in touch with me there. And we have a Facebook page. It's not too active, but it's not too dead. So it's mainly Facebook, and then LinkedIn, of course, Nancy Spooner on LinkedIn. And that's where, I make all my connections and can help you find other people if you're looking for connections in the industry. I'm happy to share who I know.
Brilliant. And for everyone listening out there, I have put the links to Nancy's website in the description of this episode so you can easily connect with her. And also, be sure to share this podcast with your fellow entertainers, coaches, teachers, arts and entertainment educators, and anyone you know aspiring to create a career in this industry. You Booked It is the #1 resource of expertise on how to actually create a successful career in the entertainment industry. Case in point, everything Nancy gave us today, such great perspective from a completely new side of the industry that we don't talk about too often here on the podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure you hit the subscribe button so you don't miss the next one. Nancy, thank you so much for taking your time to come on the show today and have a chat.
Thank you, Dane, for having me. I'm very honored to be a part of this amazing podcast. You've got some super talented people in your episode. So thanks for having me. I'm very flattered.
Thank you. Thank you so much for listening today. If you enjoyed this episode and want more like it, be sure to smash that subscribe button. Also, be sure to join the You Booked It community. Inside, you can connect with your people, build industry relationships, unlock unlimited masterclasses, and access the tools and training you need to create sustainable career momentum. Get your invite link right now. Tap the link in the show notes or head over to youbookeditpodcast.com/invite, and we'll see you there.